to the rural sector, because the Prime Minister said one Malaysia means we must embrace the rural people, not just the urban people. And we put in 54,569 children through the preschools that we opened this year, the highest number of preschool that we've opened in any given year since independence. 1,358 preschool classes that we've opened. 54,000 kids are now enjoying that, which they didn't before. Why did we do that? Because 40% of our children who go to standard 1, as we found in the labs, they did not go to preschool. The problem was the curriculum was based on those that have attended preschool. So the 40% that didn't, they cannot cope in standard 1, they struggle in standard 2, and all from, that's why our literacy rate and numeracy was down. So it's very important for us through a long haul to make sure that we start right down there at the basics. We've ranked all the schools, as I said before, both secondary school. We've reduced the number of hardcore poor, 44,643 hardcore poor families in this country. We brought that down by 46% from January to September this year. And government contracts, 3,716 government contracts are already on the portal. We know who they are, the names are there too, including 648 people who were arrested for corruption this year. From January, if you don't believe me, go to the MSCC website, their photograph is there with the IC number. The face is very clear also, very clear. This is the website, the 208 in the website. They're published there, all of them are there. And on corruption, the TI numbers are indeed down. The Transparency International Survey shows there's a reduction from 4.5 to 4.4 this year, but our rankings still remain the same. But 3 other surveys by IMD showed that our ranking for corruption has improved from 5.2 to 6.3 score. The PERC survey, which is done by Political and Economic Risk Consultancy, improved from 3.6 to 4.6. The World Economic Forum ranking has improved from 4.5 to 4.6. So essentially, some of the other surveys that were conducted in the 9 constituent survey in the TI, unfortunately did not have any score for 2009. So you cannot make the comparison. So when I made the comment in the blog that we have made, if you like, we are on the right direction, I'm simply saying relative to last year. I admit we have a long way to go on corruption. A lot of work needs to be done. When you talk to people in Hong Kong, how long did it take to bring the corruption down to the current levels? 10 years. Basic building blocks. What we need to do is that we must not feel discouraged. We must focus on what's needed to be done. We must introduce the Whistleblower Protection Act with the modus operandi coming out. We need to do all this. So I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I have now touched the point about innovation can exist in novel ways of working. Innovation can exist in novel ways of working, not just innovation bringing innovation, invention, innovation bringing novel application and technology. It can exist in novel ways of working. And I do believe that with novel ways of working, in the way we do things here, we will be able to then transform our economy so that our economy become a high income by the year 2020. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Yang Berhormat Senator Dato Sri, and we understand that Yang Berhormat Senator Dato Sri will be able to take questions from the floor. Yes, sir?
So when you move the policemen from the non-hotspot areas into the hotspot areas, did crime go up in those?
No. They won. The good news is this, they didn't go down because it was not happening before. Yeah, so what is happening, this is, let me make an observation. Organized crime did not come down. So it tells us a lot of story about organized crime, very clever. The incidence of organized crime is small, but street crime accounts for the biggest complaint that we have. Because street crime is disorganized, they tend to be highly localized. The experience we've had, by the way, when we went out to do this, we verified this work with what they did in the UK. Sir Michael Barber, who did my job under Tony Blair's outfit. He wrote a very thick book, Instructions to Deliver. They did exactly the same work. By the way, it's a very boring book. But the content's great stuff. And they did the same thing in NYPD. They looked at the street crime, and then they mobilized from this to that. They did say, when you do this, you will not reduce the organized crime, because organized crime is tough. When we looked at our detail, organized crime incidents didn't come down, but the street crime, the buck, the other, which is not so organized, by really intelligent criminals, very difficult. And so it didn't come down when we mobilized them, so that's good. Next question, it's a gentleman at the end.
Dato Sri, can I ask on high income economy?
Yes.
Yeah, the public is quite skeptical as to whether the required investment will come in, because we are talking about 1.3, 1.4 trillion over a 10-year period. So are you really confident about that the investment, the money will really come in, whether it's from the private sector or the GLCs? And secondly, the talent, the part of talent. Because these are the two things, I think, the investment and the talent for us to achieve high income economy. Thank you very much.
He's a very intelligent man. The point that he
My
raised...
name is Dahan, so I'm Muhammad Dahan, Dato Dahan.
Okay, very good, Dato. That's, if you look at the book, the 600 pages book, in one of the chapters we talk about the risks associated. The risks are related to simpler points that you raise. How do you know that the private sector actually put money there? And how do you know that we have enough talent to do? That's essentially the point. When we started this work, the one thing that you only know what you know at the point when you start the journey. When we started the journey, we know 133 entry point projects were identified by the private sector, and we checked them. Many of them we have a quite high level of degree of confidence that the private sector will put there. Now, what happens after that? So when you go through a journey, you open the door on the transformation journey. At that door, we identified 131 projects. When you walk through the journey, which we'll go through the next 9+ years towards Vision 2020, you will add more projects, more and more projects. 131 is only the beginning. So more projects will come in. Now, to the question is, how do you know they will all be there? Frankly speaking, only God knows. But what we know today is this. We know that we will do our best to cause this to happen. We will do our best to cause it. Let me talk about some good news. In the world, WEF Forum, we are number 4 in the world, assessed by WEF, in terms of investor protection. So we give a lot of protection to investors. We are one of 11 countries in the world, only one of 11 countries, among all the other countries, that's approved by China this year, so that their investment under QDII, they can invest in our country under the equivalent unit trust. There are only 11 countries. We are one of those countries admitted to do that now. Now, IMD have said we are number 10th in the world in terms of competitiveness. So what we are doing is all the right ingredients we put there, we in the government must assist them and help them to come and invest. And if we start doing that, I think it's good. I just came back from Beijing yesterday. We had a long discussion with the Chinese investors because they have a lot of money actually in that country too. I was in Hong Kong last week and we were trying to talk to investors from Hong Kong to start putting their money here. When we started at that point when we were in the lab, because we didn't have the people from China, from Hong Kong inside the lab, we only have the Malaysians mainly. So most of the investments that we identified, 72%, 73% of the investments is coming out from domestic direct investment because the foreigners were not in the lab. But now we're talking to them, asking them whether they'd like to invest. The good news is we have a list of areas for investment. 60 business opportunities, 131 entry point projects. We can talk concretely with them about what they are. And so all the proposals are then brought to the table every Monday. So if a new investor wants to come in, MIDA grant what the requisite incentives are, then we can put them. So this is the structure that we're doing. My belief today is Do you think we can do this, achieve Vision 2020? My answer is yes. You know why? Pre-1997, we used to grow our economy at 8 or 9% per annum. It's only since 1997 that it was down. We only were growing at 4.5%. If we took out some of the financial crisis that we went through that period, the last 4 years was actually going at 6%. So all I'm saying is, even in the worst of times, we were growing at 4 to 5%. All we're asking is, can we increase that by 1 percentage point? 1% more lah. We're not asking us to grow at 10%, just 6% per annum. So if we grow at 6% per annum, between now and 1990, we'll get there. So what we needed to do is create the conditions for this to happen. Grow at 6%. Many countries are growing at that level. Returning to the question about how do we deal with talents? Talents can come in many forms. One is finding Malaysians to do it, to get those jobs going. And if we can't, we go and get Malaysians who have left, and that's why we're setting up the Talent Corporation to go and look for the Malaysian diaspora. If we cannot get the Malaysians, bring the foreigners in. That's what they do in Singapore too. We do that. And so one of the things we're doing under Greater Kuala Lumpur, we've identified in the book 100 multinational companies that we want to target to bring them so that they put their regional office here. By the way, Slumberger has now moved here for their regional shared services. They are in Bandar Utama, that's the office here. Vale is a Brazilian company that have decided to move their shared services over to Malaysia too. There's 2 out of 100, but we've got a long way to go. So we've got to do this. If we all go and do this, then boleh dapat 6% per annum growth. We can do it. Next question. Yeah.
Dato Sri, my name is Oliver Ho, Principal of IGM and CEO Forum. I'm very intrigued by your 4 phases of innovation, and I agree that Malaysians are very competitive and innovative. Yesterday, I saw some taxi drivers in Sungai Wang and Bukit Bintang Plaza turning off customers and tourists. Many tourists were turned off because they don't want to go to places where they charge $10, they charge $40 or $50. These are malpractices of innovation by our local taxi drivers. Can Pemandu look at it, please?
Malaysia boleh.
Yeah. Pemandu, please look at it because it affects the tourism plan for the 2020.
That's true. There are a lot of that stuff we needed to do. People don't follow. Good point. Absolutely agree. So if we want to bring a lot of tourists into the country, we must treat them well and make sure that they pay what we advertise. We cannot overcharge. Yes. Yes. Very good one. I shall remember this the next time I speak. And I say this, actually, if your back's not against the wall, returning to the point, then it's very difficult to innovate. I actually tell people, actually most students in the class, more than 90% should graduate with straight A. You know why we don't? It's because we only study intensely for 2 weeks before exam only. It's true, actually. If all of us put the same intensity from the beginning of the year, all should get straight A. So we only frustrated for just 2 weeks before the exam. If you extend the frustration from the beginning, intensely someone really check on you. It's a bit like what we're doing. This governance structure is to raise the level of frustration on a weekly basis through the governance.
Yang Berhormat Dato Sri, we actually received a question from one of our Twitterers.
Okay.
And his question, this question comes from Bernard Hoare, and his question is, we would like to see youth getting more involved in the transformation via innovation. What are your thoughts, Dato?
Excellent question. In fact, we are, I think next week, if not mistaken, we are starting a youth laboratory. We are setting up a youth lab because we realize that this group of people, there's so much talent, the future rests with them. How do we get them involved in really identifying the problems that they see some of us, the older generation, we don't see the problems that they do. So we're trying to get them to see the problem, highlight the problem, try and find the solutions to the problem, and then raise them up. So I think when we start doing this, this will be a very, very good platform to move it forward. So wait for probably, by December, we should get the output coming from this team. Okay, we have one more question because you have, I know you have the whole afternoon. Last question.
Dato Siri. My name is Paul Chong. I'm from Sabah. Regarding civil servant efficiency, and red tape in bureaucracy, what are the KPI and the way forward?
Okay, thank you. Every ministry today have KPIs. Every minister have KPI. Every single one of them. And every 6 months, all the KSUs will tell you, Dato Madina was nodding vigorously. All of them are assessed by the Prime Minister, and the setting is, in the room only the minister is there, the KSU is not there, the TKSU, the DG is not there. But the minister must know everything that's happening during the last 6 months on the ground. Then there's a report that's co-produced by Pemandu and also the KSUs together to produce the performance. And then at the end of the session, the Prime Minister actually gave them a score. 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, whatever. But that's a direct. Now what happened is, why are we starting at the top? Because if you put the KPIs at the top, then it gets cascaded down the line. Because that is a summation. So it gets cascaded down the line. So we have KPIs for all the KRAs, and the the ministerial KPIs are also there. So we do this every 6 months. It has been happening, I can assure you, because I sit in every single one of those meetings. So I know the conversation that take place there, the areas where a lot more improvement has to be done. So if we have not succeeded, it's not for lack of trying. Returning to the question about how do we improve the efficiency. The efficiency must, to my mind, begin with the actions that we take. We begin right there. All these things we're doing is making the transformation exist in the things that we're doing. Over time, when we keep doing this, then I think we will see improvements in the way we do it. If we were to start the project by saying we run a project called Removing Bureaucracy. So we put a group of people to remove bureaucracy. My guess is we will not reduce street crime. If you were to say, let's have a project across the country to improve communication, we will not be able to improve, we build a number of roads. After you've done that, yes, you can do all that, but you still need to build a road to the rural areas. You still need to go and put a guy at the street, the hotspot, because the action is the one that drives it. I do believe that in the next 10 years, if, ladies and gentlemen, if we proceed along this path, we will do it and we will cause it to happen. I have no doubt, but we can only do it if all of us have the burning desire to do it. Let me conclude with my favorite statement of all, because we're going through the transformation that the Prime Minister has charted for us. When one door closes, another door opens. Unfortunately, we spend too long looking regretfully at the door that is closed before us, and we forget to see the door that's open before us. And this door, ladies and gentlemen, is the transformation door that the Prime Minister has asked us to walk with him. And I ask every Malaysian to follow him on that road. Thank you.